Hi, Samrat sir. How are you?
I am fine. You can hear us properly?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi
Oh,
everyone.
hi. Hi. So, Shikana, we are ready to go.
Yes, we can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Connected today in this roundtable organizing by Center for Science and Environment. Myself, Samrat Sengupta of Climate Change and Renewable Energy Division of CSE is happy to welcome our very distinguished experts in this roundtable on energy storage behind the meter and electric mobility. I also take the privilege of welcome the audience following us live in this roundtable through various medium. CSE is a non-governmental independent policy research institution based out of Delhi, which was established in 1980 by late Sri Anil Agrawal, who is a leading figure in India's environmental movement. For more than 4 decades now, CSE has helped shape policy and public awareness to bring changes in various important areas and issues. Renewable energy program in CSE, for its very inception, being focused on addressing decentralized development. Traditionally, the focus of the program was to improve the energy access through renewable energy sources while accommodating environmental and social externalities. While CSE continues to pursue that, but now overarching objective of the program is now to expand in mainstream renewable energy, particularly in decarbonizing the power sector. I'm glad to have the privilege to introduce our eminent panel to all our participants. Uh, Dr. Rahul Walwalkar, President, India Energy Storage Alliances. Dr. Walwalkar leads the emerging technology and market practice for customized energy solutions with focus on energy storage, renewables, demand response, smart grid technology, as well as international market. He is founder and president of India Energy Storage Alliance and is the chair of Global Energy Storage Alliance also. Rahul is involved in providing inputs for smart grid, demand response, and energy storage policies to various state and national agencies in US and India. Rahul holds a PhD in engineering and public policy from Carnegie Mellon University, masters in energy management from New York, and he holds a degree in electrical engineering also. Rahul has been recognized as the leading in energy by Association of Energy Engineers. He is also awarded Indian Smart Grid Forum President's Award for his contribution. Our second panelist, Mr. Kishan Kumar Tiwari, R&D and Product Head of Sonalika Group. Mr. Tiwari, a R&D professional having more than 2 decades of experience in the field of tractor and agricultural mechanization, worked with lead Indian manufacturers for Indian market and European manufacturers for Southeast Asia and African market. His area of expertise is in product development, product marketing, agricultural operation, and agricultural machinery certification. Mr. Tiwari is also an alumni of Jawaharlal Nehru Krishi Vishwavidyalaya, Jabalpur, and hold a MTech with specialization on farm machinery and power. Our next panelist, Mr. Anand Jain, founder and CEO eBike. Uh, Mr. Anand has worked in power sector for more than a decade and on multiple projects ranging across hydro, transmission, solar, wind. After his exposure to the power sector dynamics, um, he ventured in EV industry, wherein developed India's most affordable electric bicycle for masses. Engine developed, recognized as intervention patent granted, now working on multiple product in EV space to make mobility affordable to the millions. Our next panelist, Ms. Swagata De, Deputy Program Manager, Clean Air, of CSE. In her role at CSE, she is involved in developing Clean Air Action Plan and Graded Response Action Plan for cities under National Clean Air Program. Additionally, she has worked on developing sector-specific strategies for combating air pollutions. She was a team member in conducting PUC system audits in Kolkata and Mumbai metropolitan region to help state government respond to challenges in implementation of new BS4 norms. At present, she is working on developing a roadmap towards a circular economy of electric vehicle batteries in India. She is also looking at the policy framework for reporting compliance under NCAP and developing common framework for source appointment studies. Sogata holds a research-based MS from Ohio and also an MSc in environmental science from TERI. Next panelist, Mr. Ashish George, Program Manager of Renewable Energy Division of CSE. Ashish has over a decade of experience in renewable energy and energy access. The nature of his work has included providing analytical and strategic support, project development, and program management. In the renewable energy and energy access domain, he has worked on evaluating policies, regulation, preparing feasibility study, strategy paper, roadmap. He holds a bachelor on physics and a master's on environmental management from ELS School of Environment. Now, coming to the context of this roundtable, the deployment of small-scale battery storage system is increasing in power system across the world. This increase has been driven by falling the cost of battery storage technology due to mainly growing consumer market and the development of electric vehicles, along with the deployment of distributed renewable energy generation and the deployment of smart grid. In India, two factors accelerated the demand side response, the need of the backup power and a rapid decline in the battery energy storage system price. Advances in digital technology such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, uh, are to aggregate the solutions and innovative business models. Startup around the world are rapidly commercializing intelligent network of behind the meter BTM batteries to benefit electricity customers and utility and grid operator. Considering Indian ambitious RE deployment target and the challenges it poses to the distribution network, as well as the leapfrog development and penetration of electric mobility options in the country, today's deliberation in this roundtable become very much relevant. I like now to request my colleague Ashish to present his initial finding, along also highlight the various important issues for the panel to deliberate on. Ashish, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Simrat. Is my presentation visible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you everybody for joining us for this discussion. Just wanted to quickly differentiate between behind the meter and front of the meter storage as an introduction. There are two main methods for using energy storage technologies such as batteries. The front of the meter is implemented at a utility scale, wherein the battery system is connected to a transmission or distribution network. But this is not the focus of our discussion today, as this happens on a considerably larger scale. The other method is behind the meter, which is implemented at the residential, commercial, or industrial level, mainly to provide backup during power failure or to store excess locally generated electricity. This is what we term as behind the meter. And when it comes to electric vehicles, they can fall into either category depending on various factors, including the type of charging infrastructure. If it is used by individuals at home, it depending on that, or if it is used in larger specialized charging facility. This is of course a very new market that is emerging, and some of our panelists perhaps can also talk about regulations and developments in an accessible manner for the benefit of our audience. You can see the entire slide, I'm assuming. Yeah. So yeah, this is the first slide. Basically, the drivers for behind the meter are several. I mean, the use of deployment of small scale batteries is obviously increasing, driven by falling costs of technology and a growing consumer market that includes electric vehicles, distributed systems such as rooftop solar, smart grid. So this is where we are seeing the clean energy revolution coming into the hands or into the access of ordinary citizens, and it's not just a business to business or government to business play. And of course, as Samrat had mentioned, things like digital technologies, artificial intelligence, blockchain, all of these are giving rise to aggregated solutions and innovative business models. And many startups around the world are capitalizing on these things, not just for production of energy storage systems and technologies, but also commercializing intelligent networks for behind the meter batteries. All of these aspects are mutually reinforcing because decreasing battery prices and improving performance interacts with the fact that there is demand, and all these aspects together, it is a very dynamic sort of a market at the moment. And we can see there are many factors and drivers that influence the development of behind the meter storage. And obviously in India, in the traditional sense, battery storage was present for various reasons, such as decreasing reliance on the grid and to increase energy security, self-sufficiency, etc. Some of the major applications, if they can be categorized as we see it today and what is possible in the future, the most prevalent form of application on the consumer side today starts with addressing issues like resilience and energy security on a very local level. And this is done through deployment of UPS systems to shield from increase or to shield from increasing prices of diesel. And this is something that we are seeing is what energy behind the meter energy storage today is, but it can evolve into various other aspects. For example, demand aggregation, which is it is a concept that will probably come into play in the near future, where a group of consumers or households with battery storage can act as a single entity with the help of an aggregator, and this would help them participate in electricity markets if electricity market regulations evolve to that particular level, and individual households and can participate in sale of electricity or sale of battery related services to grid operators. As mentioned, there are obviously two key outputs of demand aggregation. One is on load shifting, where aggregators can enable real-time shifting of commercial and industrial loads to provide demand-side management services, or in the form of local flexibility, where aggregators can enable demand-side flexibility, especially residential sector, where residential consumers are typically very small actors and whose main priority is to have cheap service with the least possible effort. So in terms of monitoring electricity markets, these aspects would be done by market aggregators. Another key aspect is basic is a driver is a co-location of renewable energy production with energy storage, resulting in more stable electricity production and ensuring firmer capacity during peak demands. And one example here is the case of Japan, where behind the meter storage has taken off quite a lot, primarily due to the expiry of feed-in tariffs that are there for consumers, and consumers who wanted to increase self-consumption and to mitigate losses opted for this. There are many such examples around the world, including California, where in the wake of wildfires, that there has been an increased demand for behind the meter solutions, and even countries in Europe have started looking at energy storage as a potential option. Of course, one of the main interests is in electric vehicles, and this is will be a very large driver for behind the meter storage. And according to an electric, a lot of analysis by the International Energy Agency, battery capacity for this can go up anywhere from 10 to 20 times what it is today. It could go up 10 times looking at the current policies. It could go up to 20 times if it is to be in line with the Paris Agreement. So there is, of course, a very strong clean energy angle also to electric vehicles. This is basically we if we want to understand what a battery is. The most prevalent and the most popular battery today is the lithium-ion battery pack, and it basically consists of various aspects. And the understanding of these aspects can also help us understand where price volatility lies. And lithium-ion batteries consist of 5 primary metals, such aluminum, copper, cobalt, iron, and lithium. And the anode basically consists of a copper foil by a covered by a fine layer of carbon, while the cathode contains aluminum, cobalt, and lithium metals. Of these, all of these items, cobalt and nickel are the rare metals that are available in select regions. And typically, these metals constitute about 50 to 60% of the cost of lithium-ion batteries. Therefore, any fluctuation in the metal prices will have a direct impact on the overall cost of the batteries as well. And we can also see that battery prices, cell prices have gone down drastically due to various factors. And cell prices, when we look at it, we need to break it down into two aspects. Battery is basically the cell and the pack. Both of these have seen drastic reductions in the past. But also what we need to do is to understand what are the alternatives to lithium ion. Are we getting very reliant on lithium ion, or are there other technologies that we can also look at, such as other chemistries such as zinc or sodium sulfur? And this is a very, like I said, it's a very dynamic field. So there are also lots of new technologies such as liquid metal batteries, solid state batteries that are coming into play. Finally, just wanted to touch upon battery recycling. There are many ways to do battery recycling. There is a short-term method, which is the second life use, where you repurpose batteries for other purposes, such as for power grid stabilization or for renewable energy systems. Of course, this would be a short-term solution, and that this would be also heavily dependent on the regulations and policies and protocols that need to be in place, which are currently missing. Ideally, we would like to see direct recycling or closed loop process, where we take a cradle to grave approach and minimize environmental impact. But again, as Swagata would talk about, is there are lack of policies and protocols for reuse of batteries for energy storage. And in terms of standardization, reliable lifespan, I mean, how is it going to be certified? Is there any methodology that is going to be followed? These are all things that we hope to have in place as we are expecting a very large uptake of batteries in the future. And yeah, that is all from my side. Just wanted to highlight a few issues. Perhaps if the panel can deliberate on these things, we would like to understand aspects of supply security, issues of environmental costs. Is there a method by which we can track these batteries? How are they produced, and what is the responsibility of the producer in battery manufacturing? That's all from my side, Samrat.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. Just not wasting any time, I like to take Shawata on the podium, because she is looking for highlighting the environmental aspects of recycle, reuse, and disposal of batteries from CSE's perspective. And after her presentation, we can then go to the panel for their individual inputs.
Thank you, Samrat.
Swagata. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. The standard question, is my screen visible? Okay, yeah, those are the three. After unprecedented and COVID-19, I think this is the next most common word that we've heard in this time. Okay, so I'm Swagata, and I've been looking at the challenges regarding EV batteries because I work in a group that strongly advocates clean transportation and electrification of vehicles. Because we know, even if you take the latest source apportionment study of Delhi, which is the poster child of dirty air in the country, 37% of all air pollution comes directly or indirectly from vehicles throughout the year. So, clean trans and an answer to clean transportation, apart from the new clean fuels like the BS6 and new type of engines, is electric vehicles, and we know that it'll drastically reduce our emissions. But what are the other challenges regarding electric vehicles? So just pictorially already speaking, what Ashish said, that at the heart of the electric vehicle is a battery, which occupies about 60% of the weight of the vehicle. And it is mainly at present lithium, and it has other elements. It has nickel, manganese, cobalt, aluminium, phosphorus, and as we develop newer chemistry. So on my left hand side is a regular textbook lithium ion battery which started somewhere. The person's name is John Goodenough. He's said to be the father of lithium ion chemistry. I had the wonderful opportunity to work in his lab for a week, and I learned a lot. So as we are moving from simple lithium ion batteries to the newer ones, uh, this is just an example of an NMC, that's lithium metal and nickel metal and cobalt. Then you have LFP. More and more chemistries are evolving. What you see is the battery is a very complex system, and at the heart of it is there's a whole lot of chemicals that are going on in the electric vehicle. So what happens? So what are the challenges with those batteries? Now, first of all, once you are done with your electric vehicle battery, once it is spent, if you have to dispose it, you cannot just dump it because it has a lot of toxic elements. As I said, lithium and nickel, particularly lithium reacts vigorously with water. That is, if you put a drop of water on a sheet of lithium metal, you have a mini explosion. And hence it can significantly alter the natural chemistry of soil and water bodies. So you cannot just dump. Now, the amount of waste that we are going to generate is going to increase as we go along. So the EV market itself is going to grow tenfold from now to say 2025. So imagine the amount of waste that we are going to generate, and out of which the EV battery market in India itself will grow at about 35%. And by 2030, we'll have capability of close to 132 gigawatt hour. And the market is, some estimates by the Economic Times puts it about $1 billion in India. Now, the idea is that what do you do with so much waste? You handle it responsibility. And what the tendency with hazardous waste in India is we tend to incinerate the hazardous waste. Now, in this case, that is not possible because remember, for an electric vehicle, our motivation towards vehicle electrification was clean air and reducing our emissions. But here, if we are burning all that battery waste, you're actually taking a step back, and that's not going to help us at all. So these are our challenges, and this is what we have to address. And at present, we are not addressing them. We are just constantly pushing for more electric vehicles without thinking of these subsidiary challenges that are going to show up very prominently in the next couple of years. So I'm not going to read this out. I've quickly mapped what are the present rules and regulations. So we never had any battery rules or any kind of e-waste rules before 2001. So the first, and remember, cars have been around in India since independence, one can say, and we already had a lot of lead acid batteries. So the first time lead acid batteries were even mentioned was in the battery management and handling rules in 2001, which then evolved to become the hazardous waste management rules, which included toxic, flammable, explosive, or corrosive materials. So that's how the laws have evolved, which then evolved to become the hazardous waste rules in 2008, which now talks of lead-based production, zinc, nickel. However, there is not specific to any sort of vehicles, and it covers a gamut, like it's a blanket umbrella legislation. So you have textiles, steel, asbestos, electronics, etc. 2011 is when the first e-waste management and handling rules came about. And this was like, you could say that a landmark because it put in the first sound e-waste management system. And this, for the first time, even though in a haphazard manner, brought about the concept of the producer. That if a producer is producing electronics, the consumer is consuming at some level, it is the role of the producer is to take back some of it, the concept of extended producer responsibility, and it applies to every consumer or bulk consumer. This then evolved into the e-waste management rules of 2016 and 2018. And this actually had clear targets for producers within Schedule 3. However, all of these so far have not mentioned lithium, I mean, you can actually read the laws cover to cover and they don't mention lithium anywhere. Forget lithium ion batteries. Neither do they explicitly mention nickel. And as Ashish has said, nickel, cobalt, aluminium, lithium are the four major elements that go into an electric vehicle battery. We now have, and I'm not sure how many people are aware of this because there's a raging pandemic. In February, right before we went into the nationwide lockdown, we have the Battery Management Rules 2020, which was drafted by the MOEF-CCC. And it's a draft. However, this includes lithium. So great, we've made progress there. Problem is it's not yet notified, it's not specific to EV batteries, and it's quite general, but however, it's evolved. So what you see is we are not prepared legally. So if someone just starts dumping lithium ion batteries or electric vehicle spent batteries, there is no way we can say let's stop. And that is the direction, unfortunately, where India is going right now. And we need to stop that. So what can be done? As I said, if you look at the global consumption of lithium and other metals, it's going up. And remember, all these metals, as it's going up, and it will continue to go up in the next few years, all this will come back as waste at some point of time. So we have three options, and as Ashish has touched upon them. First is second life usage, and I'm going to briefly talk about it and the challenges. Second is we recycle all of this battery waste. Easier said than done, but can be done. And finally, safe disposal. So try and bring it into an entire, circular economy if possible. So when I talk of second life usage, when I say a battery is spent from a electric vehicle point of view, yes, it cannot be reused again in an electric vehicle because remember, you need quick start, you need brakes. So when a battery is spent from an EV point of view, it still has about 80% power. That's a lot of power that still remains in the battery. So we need, there's already a lot of scientific evidence on second life usage. What we need is two things. We need to popularize that second life usage because I'm not sure how many people outside the domains of academia, public policy, or the erudite circles actually know that this can be reused. Create a market for these batteries, create standards, and then use them for mini grids or energy storage and other applications. So that is something that we need to do. Now, second is recycling and bring in the extended producer responsibility to EV battery. Now, recycling of a battery is far more complex than recycling, let's say, a paper cup. The reason being, first of all, a battery itself, as I showed you in the beginning, has a lot of chemicals, has a lot of metals. And each metal will have its own specific chemistry and its own specific recycling method. What might work for one method, one metal, for example, aluminium, you can convert it into aluminium oxide and then use it into an alloy, might not necessarily work for lithium. So that's complex. So apart from your legislations, you also need the science, which is there, but again, not in the domains of public policy. It's there in a very close-knit academic domain, but also legislation and infrastructure. And finally, this is where EPR can be pushed because oftentimes battery manufacturers will not tell you the exact battery chemistry. The reason being battery chemistry is closely linked to performance. So that recipe is sacrosanct. It's like the company will not want to give you the exact percentage or what kind of materials are there, because then you're giving that material out to the competition and to the out in the world in general. So from a recycler's point of view, there is a challenge, because how do you recycle something which you don't know what's inside it? So there can be a system where the companies will have to take back part of the batteries which they don't want to disclose, and have that in place, the extended producer responsibility specific to EV batteries. And finally, the last option, even though shouldn't be one, but if you want to create a circular economy, is disposal, safe disposal. Like we have landfill rules, we need landfill rules for electronic wastes. We have to create a situation so that India becomes a recycling hub as opposed to a dumping ground, because that's what it is right now. I'd like to, think of it as an analogy is, you go for a reception or a party and there are no waste bins, and people, what they do is, they'll drink cups of tea and coffee, and one person will dump it at one corner, and very soon that becomes like a small mini waste dump. That is what might happen to lithium ion batteries and EV batteries in general, and that is what we have to stop at. So these were some of my suggestions, and I'm looking forward to take this dialogue forward with our eminent panelists and our audience today. And with that, I'd like to take any questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagata. It was a nice presentation, short, brief, highlighting the main issues which we as a organization think should be addressed into this electro economy. I like to go to Dr. Rahul. Um, uh, Dr. Rahul, you might have followed both the presentation Ashish and Sagata
Yes.
has made. We have raised few questions we think will be important to address before this economy takes up in a
Yes.
huge way and compete the petro economy or replace the petro economy.
Sure.
So
Yes.
your observation,
Yeah.
you being a
So,
specialist in this
will
sector.
it be okay if I use a few slides, if I share
Sure,
it, because
sure.
I think some of, yeah.
Stop
So
sharing,
great. So
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
great. Yeah, and first of all, I'd like to thank the CAC team and both Ashish and Sugata for a wonderful presentation. I think you have set the context very well, and we can get into more specifics. I just want to share some of the work which, as a India Energy Storage Alliance, we are already doing in these areas. And definitely, there are areas where there is a lot more cooperation required and a lot more effort for increasing awareness. Because a lot of times I think just getting rules on paper is not sufficient, as it has happened with the lead acid industry, where around the world lead acid is actually one of the most recycled chemistry. And in India, we had these rules that Sugata mentioned, but practically there have been many issues in the way the recycling has happened. But at the same time, the way the world is now moving, and especially with the new battery manufacturing mission which Niti Aayog has recently launched, there is a good opportunity for India to actually do it in a right way as this happens, but there is a lot of work which is required. So just as a background, India Energy Storage Alliance was created in 2012 by Customized Energy Solutions to create awareness about advances in energy storage and e-mobility technologies. In 2016, we decided that we don't want to just focus on creating awareness about technologies and creating market, but we want to make India a global hub for R&D, manufacturing, and adoption of these technologies. And I'm happy that we have global partnerships with almost more than 20 national and international alliances working in this area. And also now ISA has grown to more than 110 members, spanning right from startups to some of the largest companies working in this area. So one of the key areas we have been focusing on is working on the policy frameworks. So since 2013, we have been involved with various policies at CA, CERC, MNRE, for looking at stationary energy storage and looking at role of energy storage for reducing diesel consumption and increasing renewable adoption. We have also been working on the mobility side through an initiative called MOVE, Moving Onwards Vehicle Electrification, where we have looked at issues related to the charging infrastructure, battery swapping, and overall making sure that we do actually adopt the right type of batteries and not just focus on buying cheapest batteries from China or other countries to start the e-mobility activity. But then in 2017, 2016, we also launched this initiative for focusing on manufacturing. And as part of the MNRE National Energy Storage Mission, we are one of the principal authors and also have worked very closely with Niti Aayog for the national program for advanced chemistry cell battery manufacturing, which is part of the PLI scheme. And I'll talk more about that in the coming slides. As Ashish mentioned, one of the key thing is that the cost reduction, especially on the lithium-ion batteries, has fueled a lot of interest. And for people who are not familiar, in 2010, lithium-ion battery cell prices used to be more than $1,000 per kilowatt hour. And now the prices in 2020 have come down to around $100 per kilowatt hour, or in some cases even below that if you are buying at a really large automotive volumes. And these prices are continued to go down to around $60 at a cell level in next 5 years. And one of the reasons why this is happening is manufacturing. As you can see, as of 2019, around the globe, there was around 350 gigawatt hour of manufacturing capacity. It is expected that by 2025, the global manufacturing capacity will exceed 1500 gigawatt hour or possibly even 2000 gigawatt hour. And out of that, India is trying a very small piece of it, which is only 50 gigawatt hour. That too may come in by 2027. So in terms of the manufacturing, India is going to be a very small player globally, but we are glad that at least we are kickstarting the industry and there is an opportunity to actually also encourage recycling and domestic value capture. I won't go into details of the applications, but just I think some of the things what Ashish mentioned, here are some charts which show why you need storage when you are ramping up wind and solar deployment. Because with wind, you have more of a multiple day kind of a storage requirement where you end up having some days more wind, some days not enough wind. With solar, it is a daily pattern. But within that, when you look at second to second generation, there is a significant fluctuations which are there, which needs to be managed at a grid level. And when we really get to 100 gigawatt or when you cross the 100 gigawatt solar deployment, then we are going to have this challenge that the afternoon is actually going to be a valley where traditionally people everywhere think of night as a low peak period. But we may have this situation where like 3 p.m. or somewhere between noon to 3 p.m. could end up becoming the lowest load point. And then typically in India, the 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. is a timeline for the highest peak. So that would mean that the ramping requirement and the flexibility required for other generation is actually more. And if you have to shut down these thermal generators during the day, then you cannot just kickstart those generators back in a notice of 1 hour or 2 hours. So you need to address it substantially. And this is a area where energy storage and even e-mobility can play a key role if you are able to actually do significant increase in the load in the afternoon with energy storage, and then also use that for reducing peaks in the evening or in the mornings. Now, one option is that there are many people who say that we already have too much generation available in India, and we should just basically use the existing coal plants for balancing all these renewables. Now, technically, that may be possible, although it may not be best from both environmental and also economical point of view. Because when you are operating these thermal plants for ramping up or balancing renewables, you end up operating them at minimum generation level and keep on ramping them up and down, in which case both the SOx and NOx emissions are substantially higher. And there are studies which are done which shows that you may lose 20% of CO2 emissions because you're operating thermal plants at a lower heat rate. And you may also lose up to 100% of SOx or NOx benefit, which are basically local area pollutants. So there is a way where you can use storage in a smarter way. And actually it is cheaper than operating these thermal plants on a standby mode and keep on paying them fixed charges throughout the year. So you can actually shut down and retire some of the older thermal plants which are not efficient. And that's what we need to do in India. Now, in terms of solar plus storage, what happens is number of times people only look at the marginal cost of storage, where it may be right now people may be looking at prices of like 7 rupee to 12 rupee and conclude that it is not economical. But actually, if you do a hybrid, even right now, the levelized cost of solar plus storage could be somewhere between 4 to 5 rupees. And as going forward, it is expected to get down to 2.8 to 3.4 rupees. So this is something which is very economical, and especially in India, where commercial industrial customers pay the highest tariff, where many of the states, these customers are paying tariff of anywhere from 8 rupees to 12 rupees. Actually, even right now, they have an opportunity to increase their solar penetration by adding storage and try to actually start saving money from day one. Here are some of the load profiles for different type of customers, and Ashish referred to it, but here are just some charts which show that number of customers they have, and these are just like a one-day charts what we are showing, where something like a paper mill or steel mill, the load is very fluctuating. So if you try to just adopt solar for this, then typically what you would end up doing it is you will look at the minimum operating point during say 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. and size storage solar only for that. Whereas if you add storage, then you can actually try to maximize the available rooftop space or available land space available, and try to actually use solar energy for even some of the other time of the day as well. The other concept is microgrids, and this is a area which is possible both for rural microgrids as well as for campus microgrids in cities. And we already talked about possibility of using some of the second life batteries for microgrids, but there is just some caution, because although theoretically people do say that EV batteries are retired when they still have 80% capacity left, typically these batteries capacity do not degrade linearly. The reason why they are stopped at 80% is for two reasons. One is once you have, say, buying a car which has a 300-kilometer driving range, and if it has 80% capacity left, that means the car will give you only driving range of around 240 kilometers. If it starts keep on going down further, then customers may be unhappy with the performance, so people change. But the other part is also typically the batteries have certain cycle life, and by the time you reach to this 80% capacity retention, you're almost at end of that life. So beyond that, typically the expected life is only maybe few hundred cycles more, and that too is unpredictable. So if you're taking out all these second life batteries and then repackage them and then reintroduce them, I would ideally say that those can be used more for backup application, where you are not expecting requirements on a daily basis, but you are just keeping it as a maybe lead acid replacement for UPS or other applications where you are using it right now. But there also there needs to be more work happening on state of health or other detection, so that, because the UPS or other applications, people are paying for that because they value reliability. So you cannot have an unreliable solution going into those applications. So there is a lot of work which is required in that area. Now in India, we have in last few years, storage deployments have starting in 15, 16 with Power Grid deploying 2 half-megawatt projects in Pondicherry. And then recently, 2 years back, AES deployed a 10 megawatt hour big battery project for Tata Power in Delhi. And last year, SECI released the first tender, large scale tender with 1200 megawatt wind solar with 6 hours of storage, where Greenco has won it with pumped hydro and Renew has won it with battery storage, where that itself could have 1 gigawatt hour of storage capacity. But there are still some delays in terms of signing the PPAs. So this project may get slightly delayed, but right now it is scheduled to go live by end of sometime in 2022. And typically these projects can be constructed in a 6 months time. So even if in next few months, if we can sort out the issues related to the PPA, the project should be able to get constructed in 22. So overall, IEC is projecting that for stationary applications, the market for next 7 years is somewhere around more than 200 gigawatt hour. If the right policies are made, and especially some of these large scale deployments start, then the market size could be even more than double in a base case scenario. But in a base case, this is around 225 gigawatt hour, out of which almost around 70% market we are projecting as behind the meter market. On the e-mobility side, the market we are expecting around 150 gigawatt hour, but especially beyond 2025, the market is growing exponentially, because even new electric vehicles by that time will become cheaper than the IC engine vehicles. So we do expect the initial next 3-4 years, the adoption will be more from commercial vehicles where people are driving it more than 100 kilometer per day. But then as the prices keep on coming down beyond 23, 24, the private adoption will also start increasing. So ISA for supporting this has many initiatives. I'll specifically talk about the manufacturing and recycling based on the focus of this topic. So as I mentioned earlier, since 2016, IESA has worked very closely with various ministries to try to address gaps for enabling manufacturing in India. And we are very happy that this ACC manufacturing initiative has finally been announced, where 50 gigawatt hour manufacturing is will be supported. The battery manufacturers will get anywhere from $10 to $30 per kilowatt hour as an incentive for manufacturing these advanced chemistry cells in India. And there is an incentive which is embedded for going for higher energy density and higher cycle life batteries. So there is a structural part which is happening where India is definitely trying to move towards adopting better batteries, which can give, like, rather than the current set of lead acid batteries, which people have to replace anywhere from 1 year to 5 years, depending on usage. These new type of batteries would use could last for anywhere from 7 years to 10 years for many of these applications, and that itself can reduce requirement for recycling. But to address some of the issues which Sugata mentioned, in 2019 on 2nd October, ISA launched the battery recycling and reuse initiative, IRRI, where the focus is on trying to identify issues related to the battery collection mechanism, encourage battery recycling research, and creating awareness for need for recycling of batteries, especially looking at urban mining. So we would love to collaborate with CSC for this effort, because although we have started it in 2019, there is a lot more work which is required to be done in this area. Here are some of the challenges and required policy gaps which we had identified. And again, this is a 2-year-old slide, so some things may have changed since then. We have worked closely with the 2020 battery handling rules, and there is a 4-page detailed recommendation which has been submitted by IESA technical working group to the ministry for improving that battery handling rule. So again, we'll be happy to share a copy of those comments to the CSC team. So apart from that, I think there is a lot of requirement for capacity building. So we have launched a online academy with partners such as CMET, ARAI, IMA, and Administrative Staff College of India. We can also do something similar on the recycling with CSC. And there are many the national and international events which are organized by IESA throughout the year, especially the World Energy Storage Day, which is get celebrated on 22nd September, where we try to bring together experts from around the globe and share some of the best practices from around the world, so that we can accelerate the adoption of both stationary and e-mobility in India. You can visit IESA website and download some of the knowledge papers, or download the podcast or magazine, which is available for free. Or if you want to know detailed reports, then those are available for purchase. So to conclude, we do feel that the policy framework is evolving very rapidly. The storage sector is showing a cost curve which is similar to solar industry, or even in some cases faster. So the market is definitely going to grow. This is a one opportunity where we can get into manufacturing, and recycling will play a key role, because specifically as part of the manufacturing policy, we have put in a clause where the manufacturing companies need to get minimum 60% domestic value addition. And if they use the recycled materials for that, then that gets counted as a domestic value addition. So there is a incentive inbuilt in the way the manufacturing mission is designed. So we do hope that that will create a good opportunity for setting up proper recycling for these advanced chemistry cells in India. So with that, I'd like to end the opening remarks, and if there are any questions, we'll be happy to take those up.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul. It was a nice, very fast but brief presentation on what ISA does, and particularly highlighting various issues. Among them also, it is happy to see that the issues raised by CSC is getting um, some space, and we like definitely to see the possibility of addressing each other's work and exchanges information and collaboration. I like to now move to Mr. Tiwari, who is the product R&D head of Sonalika Group. And you might all aware that Sonalika has one of the pioneer in taking up this electric mobility, in particularly a high torque uh, segment, that is the tractor. And Mr. Tiwari, your initial remarks, and I like if you like to highlight how you have addressed your supply aspects of the particularly energy storage, the battery part of it. Means without not going into the very details in the technical aspects of it, which is you might not be able to reveal, but how you see the technological aspects, it's going to be completely based on lithium ion, which particular chemistry, or is there any possibility of other like flow battery store or other storage getting into the space? You as a industry who actually work on it, your input will be highly. So you can please deliberate on that. Floor is yours, Mr. Tiwari.
Thank you, Samrat.
There is a problem in the
Thank you
audio.
very much.
Mr. Tiwari, the audio
Again, the
is.
same question what some.
Mr. Tiwari, you are
Very
not
good
audible at all.
afternoon and namaskar to all the delegates. Mr. Samrat. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Tiwari.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
So,
yeah.
Very good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon.
I represent this conference as a user of these storage devices. Mr.
Yes.
Samrat, as you rightly says, we are the first Indian player who has introduced electric tractor on this Farmers' Day.
Yeah.
Through this forum, I really want to share what are the challenges and opportunities lies with the agricultural sector for the EV. I heard Swagata sharing all kind of challenges really on the battery. And I also heard Rahul how we are prepared for the future. But as a user of these storage devices, I think the commercial vehicle are always talked about in your media, especially when government and Supreme Court bodies are talking about the pollutions. If I talk about agriculture sector, which is not much talked in a common platform, this is the biggest opportunity for the EV. In future, if we really concentrate and we do work on this area, the market of EV in agriculture will be bigger than the commercial vehicle. The reason behind this, what we understand and what as ITL as an organization believe, the EV is coming on the road as a control or freedom from pollution and fossil fuel. If EV comes, we will be free from pollution and we will be free from the fossil fuel. But if I talk about agricultural tractor, there are added advantages. Other than these two, you know our fruits, vegetable, what we eat. As the agriculture move to the modernization, they need to be protected from your dangerous fumes, which is the diesel fumes. All the modern agriculture is moving to the polyhouse, greenhouses, which are closed environment. These are not like an open environment field. Mature fruits, which are one of the dangerous element in our foods. So all these farmers who are really progressive, they are sensitive about their user, they are looking as a solution which can be avoided for the diesel fume deposition on their final yield. Other than that, what Mr. Rahul and Swagata already talked about, which is the biggest challenge in the transport mode, limitation of EV. They can travel to 300 kilometer, 200 kilometer. In agricultural sector, that challenge doesn't lie. Because the tractor work in a confined area of 10 to 12 acre farm, and if it moves, its movement per day is not more than 12 kilometers. So wherever they are, they will never be worried about their charging, because they are always close to their charging station. But here prominently they will use their residential their charging system. They will not go to the electric charging stations, because farmer mostly operate these machines daytime, and nighttime they will charge. So this is the easiest way where EV can be popularized, by way of user practice, and by looking the advantage of EV not only to the pollution, by giving the extra quality to their final yield. But we are facing a challenge. The challenge are in the two fronts. If this forum can really help on these two things, the first thing is the government clearance. Government always frame the rules, it's take on time to notify and all these things. And this is the time when innovation gets stopped. Suppose you have innovated the tractor, you want to register it, it cannot be registered. There should be some mechanism which allow, like now these days we are talking about EUA, Emergency Use Authorization. This is more talked in the COVID vaccine and the medical field. Why this EUA cannot be thought about innovations? If some innovation come, there should be some restricted number certification with a minimum safety that innovation must start flying. So these are the things where I really look organization like CSE, ISA can help on framing. It can be a mechanism for EUA for the innovation support. Second challenge, what I think we all have spoken about the cost of ownership. The two elements, what we are talking today is a battery. That is one of the elements which is really right now, if I say it is composing to somewhere 40% of your EV cost. I was seeing some tweet from your forum that somebody is saying that Niti Aayog is targeting $78 per kilowatt, and the current it is that 100 kilowatt per actually dollar, but that is just on the paper as of now. As a user, it is still way beyond these values. And our very high dependency, not only to the battery, we are highly dependent on electric motors and connectors on other countries. As of now, we don't get any electric motor or your controller made in India. Normally in the tractor, the size is not a challenge, because we make bulky tractor where weight is essential to move. Weight is not a negative point in tractor. Weight is a positive point in tractor. The only thing in a particular shape, we are not looking for very high capacity motor like your commercial vehicle. Our requirement is somewhere 8 to 25 kilowatt motors with their suitable connector. So what I urge through this forum, all the manufacturer who has capacity in the field of motor connect, just focus on agriculture sector. This is a much bigger sector than automobile for EVs. Not only because of pollution, because of the added advantage of the operational and your protection of the yield. So that's all from my side. I leave my view with this forum, and I invite all the people who can work in this area to share their view, how we can further make this on the field to support our national farmers. Because on an average, a farmer expends around lakhs of rupees per year on the fuel. So if I can bring the battery cost within the lakh, So the 1 year break even time is gone. That's all from my side. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tiwari. It was nice. You have highlighted the
Any question,
very
we are open.
very specific issues which you are experiencing, particularly on the subsector of agriculture, utilizing of storage, as well as electric vehicle options in agriculture, and what are the particular aspects which need to be addressed. As you are rightly pointed out, your weight is not the issue. Definitely, we as a CSE or means as a professional, we can question that then why we are so specific about that particular technology which addresses the weight issue, and that's the best part of this technology. The is there any other options available? And definitely all the stakeholders should look to it as from the business point of view, from the policy point of view. I like night and now going to our last panelist, last but not the least, at least from the CS's point of view, where is developing or a, a particular electric mobility options which is addressing to the masses, and considering the post COVID scenario where the individual mobility has become an agenda for all strata of the society. And Anant, the floor is yours. You can talk about your development, how you are getting the response from the market, and then also highlight the supply side issues you are getting on the storage part of it, battery. But I do understand not only lithium ion battery, what are the other technologies considering the cost benefit and considering your target consumer, how you are addressing it.
Thanks a lot, Samrat, for this, and thanks everyone. It was thanks for all the information. Swagata, you presented a very good thing about the lithium, that we are using lithium, or we are taking lithium day by day, but where to dump it actually. After listening to all of this, actually, I am confused. Are we? Is the EV ready for? Are we ready for the EV transition in the country? Like, or we are just copying the West and going for a transition that yes, we want to reduce the pollution in cities. Let's say, being a Delhiite, I understand it faces such a pollution for months and difficult to breathe also. But still, like being in the market, I'm still confused what the government wants, what everyone wants, and whether we have the things in hand or not. As far as battery is concerned, like talking particularly on the battery, yes, people do say that the lead acid batteries are a major cause of pollution if we go for the lead acid batteries. But don't know, like I think all of us have inverters at home. There we have lead acid batteries. Okay, yes, a source of pollution, but we are using them. All the cars, let's say if anyone of you is using electric car, then it's a different thing. But all the cars have lead acid batteries. Again, lead acid is there. Then as we say, the e-rickshaws, 95% of the e-rickshaws in the country are running on lead acid batteries, on the water batteries. So I don't know, like as a if as a player, I think the country is more ready towards an adoption of lead acid powered EVs rather than lithium powered EVs. But this could be my phenomena, because I am very well aware that lithium has its own advantages over lead acid. But the only doubt which Swagata highlighted, what about the recycling? Shall I get all those batteries, like whatever my customers use, if all the batteries at the end, at least as far as lead acid are concerned, we can send them to the recycler, because in India there are many recyclers who are using lead. As far as lithium ion battery is concerned, I don't know whether to take them to the parliament or not, where to dump them. Suppose the government should take it back, and government should arrange for the dumping. And I don't know, even in next 10 years we would have a facility to recycle the lithium ion batteries. I'm sure. I'm very positive about the China's, not because of the coronavirus, but because of their development of the EVs. If if the recycling of lithium would have been easily possible, they would have created the facilities. Ultimately, lithium is something which is not have been manufactured or not have been invented in India. Can you guys hear me?
In between for a few seconds you were out.
Okay, now is it audible?
Yeah, it is audible.
So I'm slightly so now we manufacture electric bicycles. We are coming up with electric scooters also. I believe we are manufacturing both actually. The vehicles with lead acid also, vehicles with lithium also. We leave it to the customer to decide whatever they want to buy. Lead acid has a shorter life cycle, lithium has a higher life cycle. But India is not India purchasing power. We cannot match it with Europe actually. Lithium is very expensive as compared to lead acid. If we go with the same capacity and all, I understand. Let's say if I just take care in 100 rupees, if we take a lead acid battery with a 300 life cycle, in a 200 rupees we can have a same lithium with a 600 life cycle, almost double. Let's say I'm just taking a rough example, but people here are not willing to spend in one shot. They want, if they are okay, they want some cheaper batteries which they can replace it after a year or half an year or 18 months. They will be very willing to do so. This we have witnessed with our customers. We have received almost 4,000 inquiries in our system from many customers regarding electric bicycles and all. More, I think out of them 80% are not at all bothered about the kind of batteries. They just ask the charging time and the cost of displacement of the batteries. That's it they ask. So whether it's I don't know, like if this goes to the government, I'll say them, as of now, please do not insist on any kind of batteries, whether it's lead or whether it's lithium. Both will be creating pollution as of now, because one cannot be dumped, one can be recycled. Okay, while making up, pollution could be there, but at least the EV transition for the next 5 years should be depending upon the customer's choice. If that transition happens, once let that transition slightly happen, then you put a focus on a typical type of batteries that you want, and in that meantime, please develop all your own facilities also. Because even in lithium cell, none of the players in India is making the lithium cell. All the lithium cells are imported from China only, or Japan, South Korea, let's say any other country you say. So, but and when it comes to e-rickshaw, we are okay with any kind of lead acid batteries also. Even the worst grade batteries, the water batteries are also okay, because maybe they are so called the vote bank, I'll say, in that. I got to know from some people. So I don't know. I am actually, after listening to all of you, I am slightly confused. I was confused, still being confused whether we are ready for the lithium transition. We are not ready for the lithium transition. What we want to do, because I remember I met some high rank government official, not to name, in 2018 beginning. They said that we are creating a lithium ion facility. Yes, it's 2021. We haven't seen any such facility that where the lithium can be recycled or something like that. So that's all. So ending on this.
Thanks, Anant. Yes, from your perspective, you have highlighted the issues, and particularly the segment you are targeting, who want where the upfront cost is a issue. You are targeting for the cycle and the two-wheeler operation for the individual mobility at this moment. Um, we have got your perspective, but on the supply security aspects, both from either of the technology you have mentioned, you are utilizing battery made out of outside the country. Is it true? So means still after I think 2-3 decades or 3 decades of lead acid, still India manufacturing facility will not able to meet your supply requirement. What is your
Okay, so see, if I take a lead, I think then there is still a chance for the country to manufacture advanced lead acid batteries. Okay, which will, yes, be a source of the pollution to some extent, but at least we can create them. Actually, there is some there is a research paper from the US laboratory, Arizona, which says that while making the lithium ion battery, the pollution cost is more as compared to a lead acid battery. But I don't know like how much it makes sense or how much is it true. So as far as supply side, as far as lithium is concerned, I don't think that see lithium ion battery has already been at an advanced stage, and wherever the lithium sources are there, Chinese have already established their companies. So if we are really want to have our own manufacturing, then yes, we need to invent something new if we want to dependent upon ourselves. Otherwise, just a case as I highlighted earlier, we are not being right now for the fuel, we are dependent upon the Gulf countries, let's say. Now for the batteries we'll be dependent upon China or some other countries.
Okay. Uh, Now, coming back to Dr. Rahul. Yeah. Uh, Not specific to the micro issues what Anant was saying, basically shifting from petro economy to electro economy. There is this worry among lot of us that we may be going to depend on other part of the geography coming out of the OPEC. Again, we will going to depend on some other part of the geography. No, and our energy security will be still in a mess like it was in the oil economy time or petro economy time. How, as a macro aspects of this energy security on electro economy, you see or you perceives as a practitioner?
Sure. So again, some of the questions raised are quite valid, and we keep on seeing those again and again by many forums. But I think some of these concerns are actually exaggerated. If you see right now, for example, say take example of lithium. In most of the lithium batteries, the amount of lithium actually used and the by either weight or by value is less than 3 to 5%. So, and again, lithium, it's not that it is available only in one country or China has control of all lithium. China has invested more in lithium processing, but that doesn't mean that other countries cannot set up processing. In fact, right now we have one of the ISA members who has partnered with a mining company in Australia, where they will get the spodumene from Western Australia and set up processing of that into lithium hydroxide in Gujarat. So those type of things are happening, and this is the area where actually Indian companies and entrepreneurs needs to invest into it. There are also, in terms of the total material cost going in a battery, the cost is roughly around 60%, and out of around 6 critical materials, around 4 materials are available in India. The only thing which is not available is perhaps cobalt. And cobalt is something right now, in terms of the technology, many of the battery chemistries are moving towards sort of a minimal cobalt, or where again the value of cobalt in a battery is less than 5%. And there are many companies who are talking about introducing no cobalt batteries in next 5 years. In fact, there is a lithium iron phosphate chemistry which does not require any cobalt at all. So there are multiple such solutions are available. It is not just lithium versus lead acid. And there are certain applications where lead acid will continue to dominate. So there is no problem that someone is going to suddenly tomorrow shift from everything from lead acid to lithium. We do expect that right now lead acid has almost more than 90% market share. In 2030, the market share may go down to 50, but still, as compared to the amount of lead acid batteries being manufactured right now, it may remain same. It may not just see the kind of 10 to 12% growth what it has witnessed for last 20 years. So that's the area where I think we think that many technologies can coexist. And in terms of the supply security or other thing, there are many options available. It is not all just dominated by China or everything is controlled by China. In fact, right now, Europe, just last 2 years, Europe has come up with their policies, and Europe is now almost competing. In last 1 year, Europe has attracted more investment and more EVs than China. So Europe has actually taken over China in that area. So this is the area where before we start a fight, we should not surrender. I think there is a good opportunity for this area. There are many companies who are interested. Right now, we have a list of 10 companies who are ready to invest, or they have already started investing in lithium and recycling in India. So I think there are enough things which are happening. What we just need to make sure is that many of these people are worried about, for example, cell phone batteries. There are enough cell phone batteries right now available in India which have actually lithium cobalt oxide batteries which are very profitable to recycle. but we do not have a sufficient mechanism for collecting and making these batteries made up easily available. In terms of second life batteries, right now there are a lot of second hand laptop batteries are getting recycled into battery banks and getting sold as a new battery banks right now. So there is a need for regulation so that consumers are not fooled, where they end up buying something thinking that they are buying a new product and it ends up basically lasting just for a few hundred cycles. So there is a lot of work which is required, but I think this is something which all issues are addressable, and we just need to study those properly and address those.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahul. Just one another point, particularly the issues highlighted by Mr. Tiwari, that the requirement of the battery technology is slightly different than the so-called electric mobility for passenger car or individual mobility, where weight is not the problem. So here the dynamics of technology identification is slightly changing. Has there any efforts outside India? Because in India, we do understand it is very limited. Outside India, something addressing this sector of agriculture, a high torque, where weight is not the issue kind of technology. And is there any?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. No, in fact, there are different type of batteries like lithium titanate oxide batteries, because with the agriculture, and we have in fact worked on a couple of design projects where we have helped tractor companies to evaluate the batteries and choose it, because there are different aspects where, for example, when a tractor is stuck in a sort of a ditch and you are coming out of it, the kind of G forces which are applied on the battery pack is almost like more than 6G or 10G kind of a thing. So you need to not just look at the cell in a different way, but you also need to look at the entire way in which the battery pack is done. And we are right now working with actually number of companies, including something like Cellstrom and others, where they are specifically focusing on battery packs for such heavy duty applications. And we have set up actually a battery testing lab in Pune, one at our own office and also two at two universities in Pune, where we are actually helping companies to do the testing of the battery packs and cells before they actually make the battery pack, so that they are using the right type of batteries. I don't think right now this will go back to lead acid, saying that weight is not an issue. But within lithium ion chemistry, there are chemistries like lithium titanate oxide, which can handle like a pretty significant high C rates. So those type of batteries may be applicable. Or there are other power batteries within the lithium NMC chemistry, which may also be utilized for that. As it was mentioned that the range requirement and other thing is not very big. So the size of the battery pack required is small, but at the same time, the power requirement is significantly higher. So that poses a unique challenge, and that needs to be addressed. If we just go back to the lead acid battery will have the limitation in terms of the power capability. So you will end up putting actually a much bigger battery than what is required for this particular application. Whereas if you go for some of the power batteries or the LTO batteries, then you can have a much smaller battery pack and still meet the requirement.
Yeah. Ashish, if we can now take a few questions from the audience. There are, if you go to the Q&A section of the audience, if we start from the very bottom of the query. Ashish, you are on mute.
Yeah, I think a lot of questions are on the environmental aspect. Basically on what do we do with, are there dumping grounds or stations or receiving e-waste? So perhaps I think it's we could address those issues.
Yeah, Shagata, you want to take up? Yeah.
I am aware that there are e-waste dumping grounds, and they are not particularly well maintained. And though the other issue with e-waste in India is, though the concept, at least most people now have heard about segregation at the municipal solid waste level. I don't think people understand segregation from a e-waste point of view at all. So there is, yes, the answer is that, is it hazardous? Oh yes, definitely it is extremely hazardous. It is much more than hazardous than municipal waste. And is there open dumping? Yes, there is open dumping. And if you're talking about segregation, there is hardly any awareness on e-waste segregation. And that is, we cannot really blame the consumer, because an average person using a cell phone does not really know what's in a cell phone battery, so to say. So the environmental hazards are many, as I said: soil pollution, water pollution, explosion is the biggest challenge as far as batteries are concerned. And that is why, if you opened up your, not the smartphones we use now, but earlier when you could actually get a battery, they would say that, don't dump, but nobody listens. So yes, that is a problem, and that is what I've addressed, that though we have legislations, I'm not sure how well. I had done a quick search on the number of litigations pending in our courts, and there are crores of litigations pending, but the number of litigations pending based on e-waste acts and rules, the search came out to be a dismal less than 500. And that too, it was, e-waste was just quoted in passing. It was more to do with contracts and money. So you can say, even though we have rules, are we really applying them? Maybe not. And we have enough e-waste, because every second person in India has a cell phone right now, especially after this pandemic. It's more important for even for children, for classes. So there is a very huge problem. And cell phone batteries are this much, it's small, it will fit on your palm of your hand. But lithium ion batteries are going to be at least 20 to 50 times of that size. So you can imagine the quantum that is going to come. So same challenges, but that will quadruple many, many times over.
So the challenges is, beside the regulation is there, how to
Yes, and also
get it
awareness,
operated.
because only
Awareness.
now, yes, awareness is very low as far as e-waste is concerned. We have just, after so much, managed to get awareness about solid waste management to a normal public, but I'm not sure if average people know about e-waste. And when I'm talking of average people, I'm not talking about us who are on this webinar or on this panel. I'm talking of a person who uses a cell phone but hasn't studied beyond class 12. How do you get the message across that, hey, this is dangerous and this needs to go at a special place? That is the level of awareness I'm talking about.
How that message of danger is getting in his hierarchy of his own system of value. Means without financial incentives, why, how you will going to attract the common people to
Yes.
get into that regulation?
Thankfully, the good news is that in India, at least for cell phones, we have a very strong second-hand market.
Yeah.
So that is good. That as a country, a blessing in disguise is we are not so rich. So we just don't dump our old cell phones and get a new one. We try and sell, or we trade it in for a newer device, which is good, but it has to happen a lot more. I have like a couple of those older phones lying with the batteries intact, and I don't want to throw them, but then, so a lot of times you feel, oh, let's just dump it, and then off it goes. So that's a problem.
A similar question, that how is the tracking mechanism possible? Like one person has saying, can the manufacturer electronically lock the battery to a vehicle? But that has other issues of fungibility of the technology, or the present way of. And can the battery be identified in a foolproof manner to serve as a collateral for financing?
Okay, so I
So
will let the tracking part, I'll take Dr. Rahul that question, because I feel he's better qualified. But from what I'm assuming, the question is, can the manufacturer take back? How does the manufacturer know? So that's pretty much like, once you use your vehicle or you use your battery for n number of years, and it'll come with a certificate that this battery will run for these many kilometers. The manufacturer takes back the spent battery, and the next battery that you purchase, you get a discount on it. And the manufacturer takes back and does the recycling bit. That's the concept of the extended producer responsibility. Now, how to track this mechanism, and whether that will bring in other issues like privacy, or those, I would let I think Dr. Rahul will be in a better position to answer that question. So
Rahul, along with what Shagata has told, that kind of financial incentive to get the old battery is maybe viable for a sizable battery size for electric vehicle four-wheeler option. But when we are talking about two-wheeler, three-wheelers, and for a technology which is not so up upon deck technology, that recyclable value will be not sufficient to attract maybe bicycle owner to go for 100 or 200 rupees incentive rather than throw it out. So what is
So, so I think
there's a
I
dilemma.
disagree with that. I think again, as soon as you start going, because when you're talking about cell phone batteries, you're talking about batteries in like a milliamp hour, right? When you're talking about batteries, even for say two-wheeler, typically you're talking about 1 or 2 kilowatt hour kind of a battery. So these are batteries when they are brand new, they are worth more than a few thousand rupees kind of a thing. So I think generally the if we make recycling available and easily accessible, I think consumers not necessarily just want to throw it. A lot of time it happens where consumers throw it because they don't have an option for supplying. So what we have tried to do was, I think when we launched the initiative, we even reached out to like shops like Chroma or others to try to see if they can help us set up like a easy collection boxes or other thing where people can provide. And when it comes to the auto OEMs, I think many of the auto OEMs or these garages, they can easily have this facility for collecting back. Just one aspect is that the way the technology is changing, some of this discussion will change itself, because we are right now talking about what happens if people are replacing a battery and getting another battery in a car. But right now we are heading towards a generation where many of the new batteries which are getting used in a cars, they have more than 1,000 or 2,000 cycles, and many of these, so that means that typically if there is a car which has a say 200-kilometer driving range, which right now with the Tata Nexon or many of these vehicles have, that means unless the vehicle is being driven more than 200,000 or 250,000 vehicles, you need to replace the battery. And many of the vehicles in India, actually, when they are getting driven for 200,000 kilometers, you will just replace entire vehicle. So that will also be covered as part of the scrappage policy for the entire automotive sector, where that can be taken care. But there is a very strong focus from specifically for four-wheeler or even two-wheeler batteries to be recollected and looked at from the second life point of view. The only concern what we have is that some of the batteries, if they are not of high quality, when they are being positioned for second life, they may not actually practically be of much value. So there is a concern where I'm part of some of the committees for World Bank under Global Energy Storage Partnership. There people are concerned that people under the name of second life batteries may just dump some of these old batteries in Africa or some of the other countries because they don't want to take cost of recycling. Especially this is a concern for batteries which are of chemistry LFP, lithium iron phosphate, because with NMC or NCA chemistry, because of the value of cobalt and nickel, actually you can economically recycle those batteries. So there is no problem of people accepting those batteries and recycling at even their own cost. But when it is for LFP cost, people may try to dump those batteries and just use some of the poorer nations for as a dumping ground. So that needs to be addressed and avoided from the policy point of view.
Yeah. Ashish, one particular question related to this energy storage. Is there any action plan on India to become carbon neutral country? May not be very relevant to energy storage, but you can one line response on that. Carbon neutrality. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was another question as well that was related to this. Basically, if our EV is going to be clean as well, because the electricity use is currently largely from coal, and whether EVs will, in fact, increase this particular load. But yes, I think I would answer the question with another question.
Both the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Samrat, that's all I wanted to say. Go ahead.
No, I am asking you to answer it from the point of a RE perspective and climate change perspective. The carbon neutrality and EV, how clean it will be, because we are still 60% dependent on coal.
Absolutely. So this would, in fact, be dependent on how much renewables we are, in fact, able to get into the system, and like what we were saying in terms of the mutually reinforcing factors. That is more the more renewables that is present. In fact, would result in greater number of storage that will be existing in the system. In fact, it would be a tricky question to answer, but I would think that as increase as there is greater manufacturing of energy storage that is available in the system, which would obviously lead to greater EVs also present. This would probably be a difficult question, but also I would think that it comes back to the and ecosystem developing together.
And as a larger challenge this energy sector is facing, we are means very quickly we are moving out of conventional energy towards the so-called renewable. And though coal will be going to be a main source of base load, but slowly with the advent of storage through various technologies, battery and other form of storage, there will be a sufficient more integration power in the grid from renewable that will make the grid less and less polluting in terms of global emission per se. And usage of electric vehicle will also address the local pollution issues, the SOx, NOx, and the associated, like what we are talking about as a Delhi, 35% load coming from vehicular. So some part of it will going to be definitely get addressed. And though it is not part of today's agenda, maybe this electric vehicle or options we are talking about intracity, and the intercity option when it will be dealt with storage, which maybe something on depend on battery, something depend on hydrogen, fuel cell, the other options will coming up, and particularly cross country things. There will be a sufficient transition out of the less means more polluting option of fuel. About the life cycle assessment of the so-called any impact on a particular technology, it has to be get incorporated into our overall overall assessment system. Our present assessment of a particular technology is based on pure finance without environmental and social cost associated with it. Some part of it may be addressed through producer's responsibility. Definitely a producer, if get responsible, had a cost associated to develop that system for their responsibility, going to address it in their pricing mechanism. So like in solar, what we are getting 1 rupees 99% per kilowatt hour, it is not the actual cost. There is no environmental angle associated with it because we haven't addressed the disposal in our PPS. So, Mr. Rahul, any last comment?
No, I think we covered quite a lot, and I think we have gone way past our time. So again, thank you for organizing this. And yes, there are many challenges, many issues, but the key thing which we need to remember is that by adopting renewables and energy storage and moving towards e-mobility, we are taking a step in the right direction. We obviously need to make sure that we are addressing some of the issues related to the recycling or reuse so that we don't create another monster. But the good part is structurally there is a value in the product, and unlike oil or petrochemical where you are just burning the fuels and you are converting those into emissions, when you are using batteries, the material which is used is actually not getting consumed. So material can be 100% recovered and can be reused, and it is not necessarily it will be reused only in the battery manufacturing. Many of the materials which are used, they even have applications in the pharmaceutical industry or other applications, like say the lithium can be used in the lubrication or other areas. So there are many opportunities for reuse and recycling, and we just need to make sure that we educate the consumers enough so that people are not dumping it in places where it is not. And as Swagata mentioned, issue related to the fire safety is very important, because if you are using partly consumed batteries and then just throw it in a thing, then that is definitely a fire hazard. So those things needs to be addressed carefully, and every one of us need to come together to do the basic education. But then you cannot just get rid of putting responsibility on consumer and just put everything back on the manufacturers. I think every one of us need to take our own responsibility and contribute towards the moving towards a more sustainable ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you, Rahul. Mr. Tiwari?
Yes, Mr. Samrat.
Just we are concluding our discussion today, so I don't know how fruitful it is for you, but you have highlighted various important issues for this subsector you are dealing in. Hope if you have any last comment, you can make it, unless we are going ahead to conclude the session.
Mr. Samrat, first of all, I really congratulate CSE for organizing a very wonderful conference.
Yeah.
On this forum, I was really a recipient of a lot of information, which now I have to really process how I can further refine my offering to my end user. And I really thanks a lot to Rahul ji, Swagata ji, because you have shared fruitful information. And Anand, really, I heard you very meticulously how we can really learn from each other, how you are using different option of batteries in your vehicle. So thanks a lot for this opportunity. And I really, once again, offer my your
Thank you,
opportunity
sir.
for all the people who are in the EV area, be it electric motor, be it its connector or the battery. I invite you all to just join us for this evolution, and together we'll make this happen very fast. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anand,
Yeah.
there are a lot of issues which you have raised, got critically viewed and things. So there are, we need to exchange more information,
Yeah, yeah.
understanding to have a 360-degree views. And you are always welcome to contact any of us. And we appreciate that the ventures you have taken on targeting the consumer level, which is also very near to CS's uh, understanding. Yeah,
Thanks, Samrat. And I really wish that as a manufacturer of the EVs, I always own this responsibility that it's us actually that has to prevent customer from dumping any sort of battery, irrespective of the type.
yeah,
Yes, for some batteries we can provide fiscal incentives. For some batteries we cannot. So if I request Dr. Rahul Swagata and all the other participants, whosoever, if a government policy comes in this regard, that from the manufacturer side we can provide the fiscal incentives to the consumer, so ultimately we will not have any dumping ground. It can all be done in a systematic manner. So
yeah.
yes, I think thanks a lot for this session, but it was really an honor to be here and listening all the views. Look forward to the next EV revolution, and let's believe that India will take a lead. We will do more and more invention, and we will be the number one country in filing patents actually in the world.
Great, great. Thanks everyone to joining us. We will be definitely get back to you on our second round of discussion on these very aspects with a more intense look at the stationary storage. We'll announce it shortly. Maybe down the line in next month, we'll